Dr. Miller, were you looking for me? Yes, I have a matter to discuss with you. Judging by your relaxed expression, has there been new progress in the research? Dr. Miller smiles then nods calmly. Yes, after extensive comparative analysis and many experimental results, it is now certain that both the shadows and the other anomalies on the train were caused by the magnetic fields created by Bakerlon crystals. Of course, phenomena without human involvement can also be called natural magnetic field phenomena, which corresponds to the natural magnetic field. Honestly, this doesn't sound surprising at all. Regardless, it's great to finally pinpoint the cause. Yes, we can relax a little now. Now then, what do we do next? Hearing your question, Dr. Miller pauses for a moment. The next step is to take a closer look at what's happening on the train. While we know that Bakelite crystals can cause strange phenomena, we don't know exactly what factors affect them. These factors might include the crystal's specific locations or their properties such as purity, transmittance, and so on. We also have to consider the external factors. These are all things we have yet to figure out. Just then, you remember what Shamila said at the beginning. It is theoretically possible for an electronic device to change the arm magnetic field. That's true, there is much more we need to research. So the next objective is to focus on the Bakelon crystals that are available to us. We must understand their unique properties. After all, every crystal is unique, and their material properties are also different. Furthermore, there may be external factors that affect the crystals. Understood. Just like before, I may require your aid in other situations. Sure thing. Is there anyone else on this train more enthusiastic than me? Miss Herrera, I saw you staring at this piece of Bakelin crystal for a while. Is there something wrong? Not with the crystal. It was only after learning that the crystals may be responsible for the strange phenomena that I began to notice them. You instructed me to study the unique properties of the crystals on the train. But no matter how much a layman like me studies, I can only scratch the surface. Don't say that, Miss Herrera. Compared to the other passengers, you're not a layman. Unfortunately, there are two important visitors coming later, and I need to be the one to receive them. Otherwise... Suddenly, Dr. Miller seems to think of something. Oh, by the way, there is a woman who frequently visits my lectures. She is an avid art lover, spending every day looking at the art on the train and taking notes. You may find it useful to follow her and tag along. Sure, should I go find her now? Yeah, but that might be difficult. She doesn't like to be disturbed when she is studying arts. So don't disturb her, Miss Shara. I would advise you to follow and observe quietly. Understood. I'll do my best not to disturb her. But where is that woman now? Dr. Miller smiles, pointing at a woman taking notes on a piece of bakelite crystal near the exhibition entrance. She's right there. Okay, I'll take a look. Showroom carriage. As you walk toward the exhibition entrance, you happen upon a familiar figure. Mr. Wing, are you here for the exhibition? Yes, I want to understand more about Bakerlon crystals. What about you? You seem to be in a rush. Did something urgent happen? Actually, you tell Artem what Dr. Miller just said to you. I see. I will get a cup of coffee after a tour of the exhibition. If you get tired, come find me in the dining carriage. Of course, feel free to come by whenever you need help. Thank you, Mr. Wing. The distance between crystals. I should ask Dr. Miller about this. I'm back, Dr. Miller. Miss Rara, perfect timing. I'm just about done here. Now, how is it going? Did you learn anything? I followed that woman as she admired various Bakerlon crystals and learned a lot. And then I was thinking, each piece of Bakerlon crystal has a different transmittance and refractive index. And the distance between the crystals seems to affect these indexes. Could these factors be responsible for the strange phenomena that appear at night? Dr. Miller smiles mysteriously. Indeed, that's a possibility, especially the distance between crystals. But I need a little more time for a detailed experimental analysis. After all, it takes a lot of time to check every single element. Understood. I'll come back in a few days. Dr. Miller, you look troubled. Did something happen? Oh, it's you, Miss Herrera. Sorry, I was just thinking about some data. Data? Yes, I've been doing a second analysis of the phenomena caused by the crystals, trying to understand the extent of some external factors. But the data in one of the luxury carriages is a bit off, so I was wondering if I already done wrong. These problems are a common occurrence now that I'm old. At this point, Dr. Miller pauses for a moment and you can hear the hesitation in his words. Dr. Miller, why don't I accompany you? I can help you observe or record if you'd like. Dr. Miller pauses for a moment, a smile appearing on his face. That would be great. I'll talk to the crew members first. If they give us permission, we can head over immediately. After a while, Dr. Miller returns to the exhibition with a smile. Dr. Miller, it looks like they gave us permission. Yes, they will allow us 1 hour of observation, but that is more than plenty. Let's go now. Alright. Train corridor. You and Dr. Miller arrive at the luxury carriage. They have already unlocked the door, so we can head inside. Yeah, upon entering, you look around the luxury carriage. Dr. Miller, there doesn't seem to be anything special about this carriage, nor is it decorated with Bakerlon crystals. It's a simple setup, which is why I need to use it as a basis for comparison. Let's get started then. With that, Dr. Miller hands you a fountain pen and a notebook. Miss Herrera, can you count how many light features there are in the room? Light features? Sure, let me see. Dr. Miller, I'm done. You point at the number in the notebook, and Dr. Miller nods after squinting to look at it. The number of light features represents the number of light sources, which is one of the most important external factors. Now, let me see what we should take a look at next. Yes, do you mind counting the number of books in the room? Sure. Dr. Miller, I've recorded the number. Except, why do I need to count the number of books? Is that also one of the important external factors? Haha, no. The number of books is recorded only to compare the objective environmental conditions between the carriages. I see. Now let's see what data we should check next. Yes, this is it. Dr. Miller strokes his chin deep in thought as he nods. Miss Ferrara, can you count how many partitions there are in the room? Any structure that can partially divide the area within the room. Sure, let me have a look. No wonder it felt strange. It seems I left out the partition near the bed. It's okay, we got it right this time. Speaking of the partitions that divide the room, do they affect the environmental conditions in the room to some extent? That's correct. Even though you've accounted for the number of light sources and their positions, the partitions will block the areas that can be illuminated, so these factors must also be considered in the analysis. I see. No wonder we have to record every object in the room. That's correct. Well, time's almost up. We should check the rest of the data. Sure. Finally, Miss Herrera, would you mind counting the number of chairs, couches, count as well? Yeah. Dr. Miller, I'm done. That means we're all good to go, right? Yes, that's all the data we have to check. I'm going back to the exhibition to sort through the data. Come find me after you sign and confirm with a crew member that we've left the luxury carriages. We need to sign and confirm? I guess they're luxury carriages after all. They're all very important passengers. It is natural that they're careful. Shortly after, a crew member comes over to inspect the luxury carriages and confirm your departure. All done. Now it's time to find Dr. Miller. I have to say, I'm kinda getting used to seeing shadows. I wonder what this shadow will see. As you ponder, the half-transparent shadow in the corner cries in a low voice. Why don't they listen? Why? So what if you have money? It's still the loss cannot be compensated. Why won't they listen? It sounds really sad. I wonder what happened to it. The faint shadow continues crying as it repeats itself over and over. Its sadness seems to fill the whole train. There's nothing I can do, so I should go find Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller, I'm back. What's wrong, Miss Rara? You look upset. You tell Dr. Miller about the shadow you just encountered. After listening, Dr. Miller is silent for a moment, then shakes his head. What we see is the past, but we stand for the future. My friend, don't hesitate at this moment. This is an ancient Bakerlon saying. Now, Miss Rara, I'll pass it on to you. Don't hesitate at this moment. After savoring the words for a few minutes, your heart feels enlightened. I understand what you mean. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Of course, at my age, you will come to understand many things. In any case, let's talk about the situation in the luxury carriages. Did you come out with any conclusions after checking the data? Not yet. I just wanted to share with you the direction of my research is heading. Since the luxury carriages are not decorated with backlit crystals, I'm using them as a basis for my research. Dr. Miller spends the next half hour outlining the subsequent research plan. I think I got it. Anyway, let me know if I can offer any assistance. That's it for today. Get some rest, Miss Herrera. Dr. Miller, what are you up to? Upon entering the exhibition, you spot Dr. Miller inspecting a small backlit crystal. Oh, it's Miss Herrera. I'm thinking about the relationship between these crystals. I'm thinking about which of these variables would cause a change in the manifestation of phenomena. Yes. Without giving you any time to process what he said, Dr. Miller seems to have an epiphany. Perhaps that is possible, yes. After muttering to himself, Dr. Miller turns to look at you. Mishwara, I have a theory. But I need your help to understand some detailed data before I can determine whether my theory is correct. How can I help? I remember that two corridors of the train are decorated with larger pieces of bakelite crystals. I hope that you can help me observe the position, arrangement, and height of these crystals. No problem, leave it to me. The bakelite crystal is exposed here and is placed higher than the ones in the exhibition. There are open windows on both sides for better air circulation. Speaking of which, it seems the two corridors aren't that far apart. I should check out the corridor in the luxury carriage. As you previously suspected, there is no difference between the bakelite crystal ornaments. Coincidentally, Simon is standing beside the bakelite crystal, leafing through an old book. According to Dr. Miller, the more detailed the data, the better. Why don't I ask the conductor? Maybe he knows something about the crystal's ornament on the train. After thinking it over, you approach Simon and speak to him. Hello, Simon. Mishara, how can I help you? I'd like to know about the placement of crystals ornament on the train. Are you free right now? The conductor closes the book in his hands and nods at you in earnest. Yes, of course, it is the duty of the crew to satisfy the needs of our guests. However, I must patrol the carriages later, so I don't have much time. Use the time wisely, Miss Herrera. Alright? I want to know how to determine the display position and height of each crystal. Miss Herrera, do you mean why each stone is placed in a corresponding position and why it's arranged at a particular height? Yes, precisely. Let me think. For the height, I believe it depends on the abyss. For example, the larger juices in the exhibition are matched with the bases of varying heights and carving techniques according to their appearance. The smaller crystals used for decorating the corridors were designed to match the carriage style. That also displays the characteristics of the crystals. By the way, the organizer and presenter of the exhibition room is Dr. Miller. Does that mean he designed the overall layout? Haha, no. Huh? The overall layout of the exhibition room was designed by Miss Bellots, the most famous showroom designer in Ginun Gagap. Perhaps you've heard of the Ginun Gagap auction. The highlight of that auction was a jewel worth $86 million. And Miss Bellots was responsible for the showcase design. Its reveal on stage caught everyone's attention in an instant. Subsequently, reports suggested the jewel was able to sell for that much due in part to Miss Bellots' showcase. I didn't know it had such a story. Well, Miss Bellots has quite a reputation, so it's natural that Khan Corporation would invite her to design an exhibition for the crystals that they are so proud of. Unfortunately, Miss Bellots, who used to work primarily in jewelry, fashion, and antiques, had limited knowledge about backlit crystals. So the exhibition room was done by Miss Bellots in collaboration with Dr. Miller. She was responsible for the overall design. And Dr. Miller confirmed the crystal layouts, to which Miss Bellots offered her suggestions, of course. I see. With that question, Simon looks at his watch. It's almost time, Miss Shara. I must make my rounds. Let's call it a day. He suddenly wants to put the book he had been reading on the windowsill, then pauses. Oh no, I missed the book return window. Hearing what the conductor said, you realize what had happened. The conductor missed the book return window because he was answering your questions. Oh, I can help you return that book, Simon. After all, I was the one who took up your time. Hearing this, the conductor is taken aback, then smiles with gratitude. Thank you very much, Miss Rara. Please help me put it by the bar. I was sorting through the utility room when I came across this old book which had probably been there for a while. Although I haven't read many books, I think the story in this book is worth reading. With that, the conductor shows the book to you called Telus Travelogue. Telus Travelogue. Have you also read this book? No, I haven't, but it feels familiar somehow. I might have seen it online. Very likely, nowadays few people have the time to read such a slow book. Just like fewer people have the heart to experience the journey of a slow train like the Mobius. No, I think a cool breeze blows from the window, tickling the hair near your temples. You smile. This moment is filled with nostalgia. If the destination takes me to an unknown world, I'm willing to accept the invitation. Simon looks at you with surprise. You might be more courageous than I thought, Miss Rara. Well, I must get going. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Hello, I'm returning a book for the conductor. Please sign here. You return Talus Travelogue to the librarian and sign your name on the borrowing card. For some reason, you feel reluctant to return the book. No time to think. I'd best go to explain the situation to Dr. Miller. Mishwara, you're back. Yeah, I learned more about the crystals in the corridors and I even met the conductor on the way. You tell Dr. Miller in detail about everything you've learned and he nods with a smile. Yes, Miss Billows is very intelligent and keen on all things beautiful. I remember with a single glance she had picked out the most attractive exhibits. Working with her this time was quite easy and enjoyable. It sounds like Miss Billows is a talented person with a great personality. I would love to a chance to meet her. Haha, I'm sure you will. Well, Miss Rara, the information you brought back is very useful, but I still need some time to sort it out. I will let you know if I came up with any new conclusions. Sure, I'll get out of your hair then. Dr. Miller, you were looking for me? Yes, there are a few things I need you to check. Huh? Dr. Miller pauses for a moment before explaining. In analyzing the data previously obtained, I realized that light also had some effects. Although the shadows usually appear at night, there are also anomalies during the day. You're not recalling the strange thing that happened in the dining carriage. So I wanted to do a comparison experiment to observe the effects of lights. Early this morning, I placed some Bakerlon crystals in the utility room. I checked and recorded them at noon, afternoon and dusk. But the data is very complicated, which will require you some time to analyze. I'll have to trouble you to check on it at night. No problem, leave it to me. Clara, What are you doing here at so late at night? Dr. Miller was looking for me. You spent a few minutes explaining the situation to Vin. I see. Speaking of which, what are you doing here, Dr. Richter? A crew member informed me that a passenger was getting agitated. The conductor heard that I am a psychiatrist and asked me for assistance. I just finished with that passenger's psychological consultation. How's the passenger doing? Good. The emotional changes originate from the long train ride and strange phenomena. He will be much better after he rests and stays away from the current environment. I'm glad to hear that. Vin pauses for a moment and turns the topic to you again. So, are you on your way to check the situation in the utility room? Yeah, allow me to accompany you. The conversation with the passenger has left me wide awake. Alright. Reaching the utility room, a shadow floating in a corner immediately catches your attention. Dr. Richter, there is a shadow here. It's the first time I've seen it here. Boru Papi, Toruda. Huh? It speaks, but in an entirely different manner than the other shadows. It can even be described as completely unintelligible. I believe he's trying to search for its younger sister. You can understand it? In the face of your surprise, Vin simply adjusts his glasses. Although the language it speaks is not native to Bakerlon, it is one of the common languages on the continent. I came across it while reading some literature and found it fascinating, so I learned about it briefly. Despite what he says, this level of understanding is still remarkable. Just then, the shadow speaks again. Borobabi, Biru. I wonder what it's saying now. It sounds like the younger sister was swallowed by a wild beast. What? If I understand correctly, it is say, don't bite my sister and let her go. Well, you are about to say, can we help it? But your words falter as soon as they reach your throat. The shadow in front of you is clearly not a real person. Even if you wanted to help it, there is no way to do so. Vin doesn't say anything, gently pat you on the shoulder instead. You can see the same emotion brewing in his eyes. You look at the small shadow floating slowly in the air, filling your heart with sadness. It takes a few minutes for your emotions to calm down. Are you feeling better now? Yes. Let's go, Dr. Richter. We have more important matters to attend to. Vin nods. The two of you head inside the utility room and look around. Basically, other than the shadow in the utility room, there doesn't seem to be anything special. We should take a closer look in case we miss something. Yeah, you and Vin spend another half an hour taking detailed notes of the situation in the utility room. Dr. Miller put a small crystal inside the cabinet so no one could see it. Perhaps it is also part of Dr. Miller's being less strategic to not make his experiments too obvious. Yeah, people come here from time to time. Will you be returning to the exhibition? Yeah, I need to talk to the doctor. I shall head back first then. I need to record the passenger's inquiry and give it to the conductor. Thanks, Dr. Richter. Dr. Miller, Miss Herrera, you're back. How did it go? Well, it's like this. After hearing your explanation, Dr. Miller frowns deep in thought. It seems the comparative experiment yielded results, but it wasn't what I expected. Before you can ask any more questions, Dr. Miller looks back up at you. After my preliminary assessment, light does affect the anomalies, causing them to display different characteristics. Huh? You see, generally speaking, the shadows on the train are not at all the same. Both say something clearly that we can understand, they just know about order or reason. But now there are shadows speaking in a different language. And that happens to coincide with my comparison experiments on light conditions. You nod thoughtfully as Dr. Miller explains. That seems to be the case. At this point, Dr. Miller seems lost in his own analysis, muttering to himself. But to be more accurate, I still need to put data together for analysis. Would it be different if in other places? I need to control the unity of variables. Yes, I'll have to ask the crew members if there are other spare rooms similar to the utility room. The doctor is completely immersed in his own world. I'll ask him about it tomorrow. Dr. Miller, what are you looking for? Oh, Miss Herrera. I'm checking on the crystals that were on display today, which is what I have to do before closing the exhibition. But there are a few problems. With that, Dr. Miller points to a crystal in the display case beside him. You move closer and realize one of the edges has signs of wear and tear. Was this accidentally damaged in transit? No, each stone is encased in special packaging material before they are transported by truck. I examined every crystals before placing them in the exhibition and there were no such damage at the time. Did someone vandalize the exhibition on purpose? Hearing your question, Dr. Miller sighs. As a rule of thumb, I don't question my visitors. We had a visitor in the afternoon. She was rowdy and almost got into trouble. After I warned the visitors, she stormed off. I saw the visitor come back to the exhibition earlier and she happened to pass by the display case here. Dr. Miller stopped speaking, but you can understand his concern. Dr. Miller, let me take a look for you. If that visitor was really responsible, she should bear the responsibility. Really? Thank you, Miss Herrera. The visitor was wearing a hat and left not long ago, which means he should still be in the corridor. Okay, leave it to me. Train corridor. Arriving in the corridor, you spot a passenger wearing a hat muttering to herself. That should be the passenger that the doctor mentioned. What is she muttering to herself about? I should quietly follow her and take a look. There's no reason for me to cause alarm if she didn't do it. It seems the passengers didn't do it on purpose. She couldn't find her glasses and accidentally bumped into it. I should tell Dr. Miller. Just as you're about to head back to the exhibition, you discovered a faint shadow by the window. Its shape seems a little short, like a child squatting by the window and talking in its sleep. Cake, cake, mommy, cake, puffy, cheese. Sounds like a little glutton, huh? As the shadow repeats itself, it gradually grows fainter. Is it disappearing? I wonder. Oh well, now's not the time to be concerned about this. I need to tell Dr. Miller about the damaged crystal. Dr. Miller, I'm back. Thank you, Miss Herrera. How did it go? Upon returning to the exhibition, Dr. Miller hurries over to greet you. The damage to that crystal was caused by that passenger. But it wasn't done on purpose. She lost her glasses and bumped into it by accident. Oh, I see. Just an impulsive visitor, it seems. Let's hope she is more cautious in the future. Based on what Dr. Miller just said, it doesn't seem like he will press charges. What should we do about the damaged crystals? Dr. Miller strokes his chin and thinks for a moment. I'll report this incident to the conductor and see if there's an appropriate solution. Fortunately, the damage isn't obvious. A little grinding and cutting will improve its appearance. I'm glad the damage is minimal. Dr. Miller, were you looking for me? Oh, I have some free time to talk to you about crystals today. We're looking into the Bakerlon crystals on the train, right? I need to tell you what to watch out for. Dr. Miller's words made you remember your inquiry a few days prior and about the history of Bakerlon crystals when you were interrupted. I can't believe Dr. Miller remembered something from days ago. Thinking of everything that has happened since then, an idea comes to mind. By the way, can you introduce me to the Bakerlon crystals in the exhibition? There are so many crystals here, but when night comes, the strange phenomena don't occur here, but elsewhere on the train. Can you compare the different situations between here and the rest of the train? Hearing this, Dr. Miller nods. Mishra, that's a great question. After confirming the connections between the strange phenomena and crystals, I did an analysis of the crystals in the exhibition, which yielded some conclusions. I will use this opportunity to introduce them to you. However, I may ask a few questions along the way to test you. Huh? Is he trying to keep me guessing? Must I answer questions? It feels like I'm back in class. Haha, listening can be boring sometimes, so I thought I'd spice things up with a quiz. I guess so. Let's start with that Bakerlon crystal by the entrance. Head over first. I'll be there shortly. Alright. Showroom carriage. Walking toward the exhibition entrance, you happen to spot Luke looking at one of the art exhibits. You tap on his shoulder. Luke seems surprised to see you, then smiles. Luke, are you here for the exhibition? Yeah, it feels refreshing to look at these crystals. Well, in that case, do you want to hear Dr. Miller talk about the crystals? Huh? You tell Luke everything that just happened. Count me in. I'm sure Dr. Miller would be happy that another student is joining. Okay, with you here, I'm not worried about Dr. Miller's questions. Dr. Miller, I brought a friend with me. Hello, Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller nods his head with satisfaction, looking pleased. Very well, let's begin with the two Bakerlon crystals by the window. In the subcategories of Bakerlon crystals that are classified as white Bakerlon crystals, they are further categorized by their purity and size. The base diameter of the crystal on the left is 10 cm, but the one on the right is 25 cm. They were put together at the entrance for two reasons. First, for comparison. Second, because the white crystals were the first to be discovered. Their placement here represents the beginning. I see. I also heard that researcher mentioned that white crystals were the first to be discovered. I didn't expect this fact to be used in the exhibition. This is the first time I'm learning about it too. Dr. Miller then introduced other distinctive Bakerlon crystals. Each one is introduced one by one in great detail. Well, it's time for a break to refresh your mind. After hearing so much information, my mind does seem to be all over the place. Since this is similar to listening to a lecture, your brain is naturally can't process all the information. That's why breaks are necessary. Let me test your observational skills. How many people are in the exhibition? When I focus my attention on something else, my mind feels clearer. Me too. Let's continue our discussion then. Dr. Miller pauses for a moment, then points at the pink crystals in a glass display. This one is called a juice, which is just a cluster of crystals and the weak magnetic field is stronger in the juice. Similarly, it will produce a powerful force of attraction with other crystals. Miss Sharara, you asked me before why strange phenomena are rare in the exhibition when there are so many crystals. After careful analysis and research, I found that it is mainly due to these large crystal juices. You and Luke are silent for a moment, trying hard to process what Shamila just said. After a while, Luke looks up and seems to understand. Are you saying the large juices are too powerful for natural magnetic fields to form? So that's why the strange phenomena don't appear in the exhibition? With Luke's explanation, you seem to understand the situation. Dr. Miller nods, looking at Luke with admiration. You did a great job of summarizing. It's primarily because of the crystal juices, but there are other complicated variables. Well, I won't go into detail about that or we'll run out of time. It's time to take a break and rest our minds. Are you going to ask another question? This time I'll ask a simple question, so take it easy. No problem, we're ready. This time I want to ask how many red or pinkish red ores are there in the exhibition? The question wasn't too difficult this time. Yeah, it's feeling more and more like a recess. Haha, that's the intended effect. Good answer. It looks like you guys have had enough rest. Let's continue. Dr. Miller leads you and look around the exhibition. Place at the end of are crystals that are inferior in quality to those near the entrance, but they are much more exquisite in terms of their molding craftsmanship. So the better crystals are like jewelry, but displayed at the entrance to attract guests. Precisely, and the crystals at the back are more about showcasing the molding craftsmanship. Take this piece, for example. It has undergone the polishing process 38 times. That's a lot. Yes, as such, its light transmittance has deviated slightly by a total of 0.3 units. Compared with raw stones, the properties of polished and cut crystals will change. Very good, and we will regularly change the crystal's position or even the crystals themselves to ensure the passengers will get a different experience with every visit. Now that you see that the crystals do appear to be different from the ones I saw a few days ago, if they tend to change the batches, is that one of the reasons why phenomena don't really appear in the exhibition? Because changing the locations from time to time might also affect the magnetic field. Before you can finish, Dr. Miller nods, the smile deepening on his face. I was thinking the same thing, Miss Shira. I even considered whether the polishing technology has an effect on the interaction between crystals. But I don't have enough data on it yet. Strictly speaking, this is just speculation. Alright, let's take a break before I explain the rest of the crystals. There are much more I want to say, so you guys better pay attention. Yeah. Dr. Miller looks around the exhibition and strokes his chin in thought. I already know what question I'm going to ask. It suddenly feels like class is ending. Haha, listen up. How many single case displays are there in the exhibition? Single case displays? A freestanding display case with just one piece of ore in it. Understood. Good answer. It seems you guys are ready to go, so I'll begin introducing the rest of the crystals. Now I'm going to talk about the Bakerlon crystals on this side of the wall. As you can see, the crystal colors are unique. In addition to the four main color categories, there are also green and orange. These Bakerlon crystals were artificially created so Dr. Miller spends a long time explaining the production process of artificial Bakerlon crystals. You can't help but yawn when Dr. Miller talks about how artificial Bakerlon crystals don't have any weak magnetic field. My apologies. I've forgotten to look at the time. We seem to have gone off topic. No worries, artificial Bakerlon crystals are interesting as well. Except we might have to save the details for next time. Yeah, the lecture has gone on for quite a while. Dr. Miller strokes his beard then smiles in embarrassment. That should do it then. Feel free to take a look around the exhibition. I have other matters to attend to. Goodbye, Dr. Miller. After Dr. Miller walks away, Luke winks at you. Tired? Want to find a place to rest? Now that you mention it, I'm pretty hungry. Haha, let's go to the dining carriage for a special surprise set meal. Sure. Wait, I have a question I want to confirm with Dr. Miller. Can you go get us a table first? Sure, I'll go to the dining carriage and order first. Alright. Miss Rara, you're still here? You look exhausted earlier. I still have one small question to ask you, Dr. Miller. Oh, were my introductions unclear? It's about the artificial Bakerlon crystals. As you mentioned, artificial Bakerlon crystals don't have weak magnetic fields. But why is that the case when they are made from the same substance as Bakerlon crystals? Haha, so that's what you were wondering about. I mentioned this when I was talking about the production process of artificial Bakerlon crystals. I will briefly explain it to you again. Artificial Bakerlon crystals are man-made minerals created to resemble Bakerlon crystals. Its elemental composition is not the same as Bakerlon crystals, but its appearance and other characteristics are consistent with those of Bakerlon crystals. And the cost of creating artificial Bakerlon crystals is not cheap either. I see. So why would they need to create artificial crystals when they are natural Bakerlon crystals? Hearing your question, Dr. Miller smiles deeply. To allow the rich to choose colors according to their preference and to compensate for the reduced amount of natural Bakerlon crystals. These are all possible reasons. Humans like to apply technology to strange things, don't they? I guess that's true. For some reason, Dr. Miller seems mysterious. I'm glad you understand, Miss Sherrera. Artificial Bakerlon crystals will only appear in this exhibition. If you're interested, we can talk more about them next time. Alright. I ended up talking to Dr. Miller for a while. Luke must be worried, so I should head over quickly. Sorry, I'm late. The questions just came pouring out of me. It's okay, you're right on time. Look, they're about to serve the food. Following the direction Luke indicate, you see a crew member on the other side of the dining carriage carrying dishes towards your table. Before the crew member arrives, you can already smell the delicious aroma. It smells great. What did you order, Luke? Actually, I don't know either. Huh? The crew member said the special surprise side meal changes every day based on the chef's mood and the available ingredients. Wait, then the dishes are completely random? Haha, yeah, the crew member offered me a few recommendations and said it would be worth the challenge. So that's what a surprise set meal is. Guest room R4. Not long after placing the last crystal, fine crystal particles appear in the air. However, unlike last time, the temperature in the area dropped slightly. As suspected, I should leave it to the conductor. He'll make the proper arrangements. After the conductor makes the proper arrangements, you turn on the scanner to check on the Bakerlon crystals. Although the passenger was forced to switch rooms, the research on Bakerlon crystals continues. Done. Next, I should come back at night to adjust the crystals. Will an unusual phenomenon also appear this time? Perhaps we can know what really happened 100 years ago. Dr. Richter, as soon as you enter, Vin is already standing there scanning the room. Oh, surprised to see me? I didn't think you would be here. My friend told me he needed to change rooms because of a phenomenon that appeared in his room. And I was free tonight, so I thought to ask if you needed my help. The room is quite cold. Do you want to go back for a jacket? Thank you for your concern, Dr. Richter, but I'm okay. I didn't plan on troubling any of you tonight. I was going to take care of it myself. But now that you're here, it will definitely take a load off my shoulders. I hope so. Shall we get started? Alright. Guest room R4. Shortly after, Vin adjusts the locations of the crystals according to your layout. A few minutes later, the lamp in the room flickers several times as fog seeps in from the cracks in the ground. It is intriguing to witness this phenomenon. You look at Vin and see that his eyebrows are slightly raised as he smiles ever so faintly. There in the back of the room, the outline of a person appears. Classroom R4. The near transparent shadow floats eerily, then it tilts slightly as if turning around. Then comes the flickering light in the room, followed by a low, husky voice. Vince steps forward, shielding you with his body. Sis, I find. Enough. Not the crystals. As long as you're fine, It doesn't look well. Yes, it seems to be suffering from an incurable disease. You and Vin are about to continue your discussion when a buzzing noise is heard in the room. Don't fight them. Sis, I'm fine. No, good can come. I don't want you. I'm done for, but you still. Fine. I'm fine. As long as you're fine. Good. Good. With his last words, the room falls silent. The shadow does not repeat what it said but floats soundlessly while remaining silent. Then it disappeared like a dying patient taking their final breath. Dr. Richter, this. Vin looks down deep in thought. When he looks up at you again, there is a complicated expression in his eyes. According to you, the phenomenon and the way they are presented are different in every room. But I have reason to believe that what these shadows are talking about all point to the same thing that happened 100 years ago. It just mentioned crystals and an illness, which leads me to an unpleasant speculation. Hmm? A few days ago, I was conversing with a friend who was a passenger staying in this room about the Khan family. Naturally, we talk about the sensational discovery of the Bakerlon crystals. When we got to that topic, he told me a story, a legend that is not well known. What legend? He said that sometime after the Bakerlon crystals were excavated, there were rumors of an ore disease that spread from inside the Khan mine. People with ore disease suffered from varying degrees of an organ failure depending on the infection. The most severe cases, death would happen within a short time. He described it vividly at the time, but when I asked about the source of the story, it was only information passed on through generations without any substantive proof. I read many ore-related books on the train, but never read anything about it. Therefore, I never thought much of it. But now it seems this little known rumor may well be true. And so it must have been a disease that was caused by exposure to bakelite crystals. If that's true, then all the people on the Mobius. Vin comforts you by gently patting you on the shoulder. Worry not, people from Khan Corporation are here as well, which means that the bakelite crystals decorations are harmless. And modern ore processing technology is more advanced, thus eliminating the problems that may arise from imperfect processing. But just because bakelite crystals are fine today does not mean it was perfectly safe when it was first discovered. Compared to 100 years ago, modern mining conditions and processing technology are now completely different. Hearing Vince's explanation, your heart settles down. But upon thinking about it, you then discover a secret. If what Dr. Richter says is true, then combined with the ideas discussed earlier, could the Khan family have known about the risk of bakelite crystals exposure but chose to conceal it? We cannot rule that out, but there are other theories. For example, maybe the Khan family only found out the dangers of mining bakelite crystals after miners got ill. But they did whatever it took to cover it up to protect the company's interests. You understand the harsh reality behind Vince's words. And either truth corresponds to everything you've learned. But is that all that happened that year? You can't help thinking about what the half-transparent shadow said. Sister, it mentioned a sister. The shadow was convincing his sister not to fight them. Did his sister also? Vin understands what you want to say before you can finish. He is silent for a moment, then shakes his head. It is hard for me to draw a conclusion without more information. We should return and inform the others about what happened here. Yeah, I guess that's all we can do.